Let's go on to a couple of other clips. Barack Obama going on to the David Letterman Show and addressing head-on this question of Mitt Romney doesn't care about 47% of voters. This is kind of like shooting fish in a barrel, to be honest, because it was such a gaffe by Romney that all Obama has to do is show up and just say the obvious thing, which is, I'm the president of everybody. He did that. Here's what he had to say to David Letterman last night.
But they work hard, and you don't meet anybody who doesn't believe in the American dream and the fact that nobody's entitled to success, that you've got to work hard. And so I promise you, there are not a lot of people out there who think they're victims. There are not a lot of people who think that they're entitled to something. What I think the majority of people, Democrats and Republicans, believe is that we've got some obligations to each other, and there's nothing wrong with us giving each other a helping hand, so that if there's that single mom's kid, even after all the work she's done, still can't afford to go to college. For us to be able to give them, some help on a student loan so they can end up being, curing the next disease or making sure that they're starting the next Google. I think that's a good investment for America. And
Okay, so kind of the obvious thing to say. It's just kind of, again, it's an easy PR appearance for him going on the Letterman Show after Romney makes huge mistakes. But this stuff has to be adding up in some kind of aggregate way that's not going to help Romney as we get closer to the election. Every single one of these gaffes moves Romney down slightly, but it creates an opportunity for Obama to do an appearance and move himself up very slightly. It has to add up.
Right, and we haven't really seen any gaffes from Obama, have we?
No, we have not seen big gaffes. It's funny, I got a message somewhere on Facebook. Someone said something along the lines of, what about the Obama gaffe where he said you didn't build that? Like that wasn't a gaffe. It was taken out of context, and it was actually true what he said. Nobody builds any business completely independent from any structures or support that the government puts into place. That's not a gaffe. It's just a statement of fact.
Yeah. It was just twisted.
Very, very confusing. Interesting question that came up. Does it make sense that President Obama does not appear to have time to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu, but does have time to go on the Letterman Show? My thought on this is twofold. Well, on the one hand, you would think that a meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu is of much more importance than being on the David Letterman Show. On the other hand, you might say, listen, getting President Obama in office another 4 years instead of Romney is the most important thing, and going on the David Letterman Show is going to reach more of the people that can make that happen than he would by going and meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. What's your thought, either of you guys?
The meeting should probably happen at some point. I don't know if before the election really matters, but it's an important meeting.
Natan?
It's really hard for me to know whether this is like a real piece of news that Obama refused to meet with Netanyahu, or if it was just, they might, for all I know, they could talk every day on the phone, and the meeting in person is purely symbolic, and they said, let's just not get into this right now.
Which would support the idea that publicly it makes much more sense for him to do one or the other.
That's true. But on the other hand, it could be that, Obama doesn't like Netanyahu, which has been reported, and maybe he just doesn't want to even deal with this before the election.
Do I think it should be a priority? Not really.
To meet or to go on Letterman?
To meet.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It needs to happen at some point, but is it a huge priority right now?
Well,
Probably
what if
not.
Israel's planning on bombing Iran tomorrow? Then that would make it a priority.
I don't see how that meeting would change things.
Okay.